Welcome back, guys, and thank you for continuing to tune in to Imperfect Me, where it is all about transparency, connecting, learning, laughing, encouraging love, and living a God-filled purpose life. This is Real Talk and Real Conversations. I am your host, Carisi, and I'm just your not-so-average imperfect girl with gifts to share. Welcome back. So today I just want to continue back with where we left off earlier in regards to matters of the heart, issues of the mind. And like I said earlier, I've got like a ton of notes, but I am nearing the end. But just to toggle back to where we were, I kind of left off with authenticity and being authentic. And how you have people that, always try to validate how real they are. They've always got to say, end the statement with, I'm real, or I always keep it 100 if you don't like me, those type of things. And the truth of the matter is, if you are constantly having to validate how real you are, then you're probably not. We have to be able to admit openly when we're flawed. You can't, nobody has it together 100% of the time, but some of us act like we do. Some of us act like we just completely got it together 1000% of the time, and we really don't have it together at all. So we're just going back a little bit back to that, about admitting when you're flawed. So the whole point, like I ended with, is that the heart must follow the mind. And so a lot of times we kind of get it backwards and we say, I'm leading with my heart. But see, the heart can be deceiving because the heart is only going to follow your way of thinking, your mindset. So if you have a mindset, if in the back of your mind, something is saying, you can't do this, your mind, your heart is going to follow that. You're going to have problems because in the back of your mind, you're still thinking this is something that I can't do. And so your heart is going to put itself out there and it's going to follow. And what's going to happen is you're not going to do it wholeheartedly because you can't. Why? Because your mind has already set your heart to feeling like this is not something that I can do. So the heart can't go alone without the mind. So you have to have a positive mindset. You have to have the right mindset for the heart to be able to move and direct, and so that your emotions will move in the right direction. So in order to live different, we have to think different. And the only way we can live the way that God truly desires us to live, which is a life of fruitfulness, which is a life of having, of achieving, of success, of happiness, is that we have to transform our mind. Where the mind wanders, the heart will follow. So if your mind wanders off, if you start off good and you're like, yes, I can do this. Your heart is like, yes, I can do this. You've got this energy. You got your emotions are all in play. You're like, yes, I can do this. And you start off good. But then what happens is your mind wanders. So when your mind wanders, what happens? Your heart will follow. And so now your emotions have changed. So now where you had this, yes, I can do this go-to attitude, and your mind switched up and you went into, I don't know, look at these people. They're all so much more talented than I am. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. This is my story too. Now what happens is your heart starts moving and acting in that same way. And so you're not able to put out your best. You're not able to do 100% because now your mind has wandered and has led your heart astray. So we have to transform our mind. We are what we think. We absolutely are what we think. And this is something that I am constantly pushing myself and reminding myself of every day. Because again, situations, your environment, the people that you're connected to, they all play a role. It all ties in and plays a role in your mindset. And so you have to put your mind under subjection. You have to control your way of thinking. You have to decide that, there is more for me. I am more. Otherwise, your heart will always fail you. And the thing about it is that goes so broad. It even goes all the way into relationships and how we view relationships. Are we really leading with our heart? I don't want to go deep into that because that can be like a whole nother, podcast. But the truth is, with relationships, we are that way. We say, well, I'm leading with my heart, but we're not really leading with our heart. We're leading with our mind, with our mindset. And so because our mind is a certain way or is thinking a certain way, then that's what our heart follows. And so when you have false expectations and things like that, that's when relationships get messed up, because there's always a root cause for things. Okay, but again, that's a whole another podcast. Today we're talking about, matters of the heart, issues of the mind, with changing your way of thinking. In a previous podcast where I talked about what is your environment looking like. And if you guys haven't already, you guys need to go and you need to look up my podcast, What is Your Environment Looking Like? The Power of Attitude and Positive Thinking, because it's a really good podcast, and it's really encouraging. Like I said, I'm no super speaker. I'm no, motivational speaker or any of that. Again, everything that I do here at Imperfect Me is all about just encouraging you as I'm encouraging myself. I believe I said it in a previous podcast, Imperfect Me, the podcast is really like an open diary that I'm sharing with the public. It's my transparency, and it's just my way of encouraging myself. And so we all need to encourage each other. And sometimes in encouraging someone else, you encourage yourself. You can help build yourself up. There's enough for everybody. And sometimes I think we miss that. So again, we are what we think. And even with that being said, Dr. Miles Monroe, when he used the quote saying, an army of sheep led by a lion will always defeat an army led by sheep. And, that's just something to really ponder on and think about. An army of sheep led by a lion will always defeat an army led by a sheep. And I mean, if you really just think about that and think about the sheep and what it represents and the attitude of the sheep. And so, you can have a whole army of people with not the greatest mindset to lead per se, not the brightest. But if it's led by a strong person, a lion, it will defeat an army led by a sheep. It's just something to think about. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into our affirmation. And so let's affirm today, I don't have anything profound today. So let's affirm today that we will no longer be slaves to our mind and prisoners of our heart. I was just like, wow, when, God put that in my spirit and said, no longer be a slave to your mind or a prisoner of your heart. And so with that being said, I decree and declare that we are free, mind, body, and soul. We are conquerors and we walk in victory. Everything that God has planned for my life, that will I accomplish and be. And so I declare and I decree that over your life and over my life. We are conquerors and we walk in victory, and our minds are free. We will no longer walk bound mentally from this day forward. So again, I thank you guys for tuning in. I love you with the love of Christ, and there is absolutely nothing that you can do about it. I am your host, Carisi. Be blessed. Love you guys.